Hello all. It is the guy you've forgotten about. And I feel like talking. So I'm like, hey, well, why not make a video? Nothing wrong with people listening to me. What I want to talk about is just if I could redo my life per se, what would I do? Now, of course, this theoretical does not mean I would take money here and I would invest it in here and sell it at the best time ever and make as much money as possible, because I think that's a given with almost anybody, and that doesn't really benefit anybody to listen to somebody say that. What I mean is, I want to reflect on my mistakes, maybe how I could have done it differently, or if I could have avoided it altogether. And because I've made some mistakes in my life, obviously, maybe give you, I don't want to say wisdom, because that makes me sound all old and smart, and I'm not. Well, I'm not smart, but I give you advice as to what I wish I could have done. uh I don't really know when to begin this, because I feel like there is no point where you just kind of wake up and you become fully sentient and your mistakes prior to that don't matter. So um I don't know. I mean, there's small things, there's insignificant things, but the first major thing I wish I could have changed about my life is I wish I got my license a lot sooner. Obviously, in most places you get it, what, 15 and a half, 16, maybe 16 and a half. Let's just say I did not get it until pretty recently. So, that's a bit out of the ordinary in the range. And I feel like I missed out a lot on the ability to just fit in more in social settings and make new friends, experience new things, and just have a typical kind of social life that would revolve around hanging out with people, going to their houses, picking them up, taking them to mine, meeting new people, maybe going on dates with people I would have been interested in that I couldn't have otherwise. I don't know. It's hard to really put into scale how different it could be if I was normal in that regard. So if I had a chance to relive life, obviously, I would choose to do that a lot sooner than I did. Um, Especially if you're younger and like that's coming up for you. You may not think you need it immediately, and hey, maybe you don't. Maybe you won't be able to make use of it. But I would recommend just taking the time. I mean, really, it's probably like what, 20 hours ish total until you would have it for probably the rest of your life, unless you really mess something up. And even if you don't use it, it is phenomenal to have, like, ID wise. It makes things a lot easier. But if you do have it and you get the luxury of using it, especially when you're younger, it opens up a lot of opportunities and you can mature in a lot of great ways very sooner. Something I missed out on, and yeah, it sucks. Another thing I wish I did sooner is get a credit card. I didn't get my first one until 19, which is pretty good, but honestly, I wish I kind of just did it like instantly the day I turned 18. Very simple to get, very basic ones, and the sooner you start, the more it pays off in the long run. I'm somebody who's been kind of trying to like min-max those numbers for a little bit now, and it's worked out pretty well, but I want to continue doing so because I want to be able to have like the best possible rate when it's time for me to get a house. But just in the current housing economy, really everywhere in the world, I don't really think it's plausible for me or really most people in my generation to have a house. But hey, I'm just preparing in case things go well. But they probably won't. Additionally, I would have also gotten a job, my first job, far sooner than I did. I waited until I was 18, which is a fine time. However, if I had my license at 16, I likely would have been able to get one then. And the sooner you start making money, the sooner you kind of go through that phase of buying things you want, but then the sooner you can start saving money, which, even if it's a small amount every so often, it really adds up in the future. Even if you don't invest it, it just is nice to have there in the long run. Another thing that has to do somewhat with finances, if I could redo everything, I probably wouldn't have jumped into school right after high school. I wish I could have taken a gap year and worked. However, that wasn't as much of a viable option for me because I didn't have my license then. But if that lines up for you, don't feel weird for taking some time off to figure out what you want to do with your life and just make some money in the meantime. It will more than pay itself off in the long run. I kind of jumped into things and got a bit too excited and went somewhere that I was not ready to be at. Mainly, I just wasn't ready to be by myself. Admittedly, I didn't expect to be, but I definitely couldn't handle it. And it ruined some friendships, a relationship, cost thousands of dollars for my parents, and overall just was a very difficult time in my life. That was very traumatic, even though it was only like 3 weeks. So I wish I took some more time to understand what was going on, and then instead of just kind of jumping across state into something, I wish I could have just done a local thing as I do now, especially because of how much money you save in the long run. It's insane to think about. On to more specific things as opposed to kind of general advice, which I don't really know if anybody here is going to take advice from me, but I put it out there regardless. But on to, if I could redo things, I would probably still be chilling like I was like 2 years ago, just kind of being able to play video games nonstop and just stream and make a fair bit of money off of it. Obviously, it would be not problematic going forward. I mean, I'm so far more mature than I was, but I understand how everything can affect things. And needless to say, I was dumb. I'm not now. And if I could just avoid any mistake I made with that and continue doing it consistently, that would have been ideal. But that is not how things have turned out. Admittedly, another mistake was not even really attempting to continue. I think considering how insignificant everything is compared to anybody else who has gone through something similar, I believe I could have kept doing it to a relatively similar degree and likely eventually surpassed where I was. But admittedly, I mean, I just felt guilty, so I felt it was more moral to just completely back off. And that is a fair take. I kind of just wonder about what could have been if I kind of kept trying. And I guess you could argue I could still do that now, but I just feel like the time has passed and that everything's either like solidified in people's minds or it's just been too long for me to get back into the swing of it. So if I could do it again and I don't have the option of like taking back mistakes, I think I would have just kept trying. Additionally, in regards to things of more just the past 2 years or so, ideally exactly 2 years ago, I wish I could have just kind of slapped some sense into myself, because admittedly I was a bit full of myself, and I mean that's what beings do. I mean, if things are going well for us, you're gonna think, hey, I deserve this, life's great, and that's because I'm great. And that's kind of what got in my mind. And I don't want to say I was entitled, but I definitely had a bit of an ego. And, you know, some people could be like, well, you always do, or whatever, but it was much more pronounced then than it is now, or really ever has been. And I wish I could have just humbled myself a little bit, just for the sake of just being normal. I don't really think it like affected people insanely, but looking back on myself, I just feel like I portrayed myself as kind of a dick, and I've never really tried to be that, obviously. There's been instances where I have been mean, and that's just life. I apologize, but it's not like it just instantly fixes it. Um, this was a bit of a ramble, but it's already been, well, 11 and a half minutes for me, probably like 9 for you. I feel like I just said everything I wanted to say. Editing this, I'm sure I'll have more things pop in my head. But that just means I have more of a reason to eventually sit down and talk around a campfire. Just kidding, I'm not at a campfire, I'm at my desk. Um, yeah, that's it. Hope you enjoyed. Um, I hope you were able to take at least something from this, even if it's something very small or something you hadn't thought about previously, but, you know, that's just life. If somebody teaches you something, if you're able to take anything from it, it's good. And that's it from me for now. I don't even know what's playing on the screen. But, yeah.